Welcome back. You're tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest live on 1150 KKNW. We provide our listeners with local charities and businesses to hopefully bring solutions to your daily life and provide you with opportunities to give back to your community as well. Now in studio, we have Mark Herkert. Mark is a business owner and husband, father of 2 girls, and an active member of Team in Training, which is one of my partners. And he is also a cancer survivor. Mark is an undergrad from Notre Dame and has his master's in social work from Columbia University. And he is now an arborist and business owner of Madison Park Tree. In 2010, at the age of 46, Mark was diagnosed with multiple myeloma and since has raised over $100,000 for charities supporting myeloma research. Welcome, Mark, to the show.
Thanks, Patricia. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
You guys are about to go do a race soon.
Yeah.
And I was reading your bio, which we only cover part of it because it's so impressive. But can you touch on what are all the triathlons and marathons that you've done to date?
So I began about 3 years ago fundraising for research for multiple myeloma. My health had settled out after being diagnosed about 3.5 years prior to that. So I was in a place where things had calmed down. I was feeling good and pretty healthy.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to give back. I wanted to contribute, especially to all the researchers who had done so much to keep my disease manageable. And so I started looking into it started with a 5K, really simple. And I was coming back that year from ACL surgery.
Oh, wow.
Even though I had a blood cancer, I was so healthy. I was running quite a bit and playing basketball, and I blew out my knee.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I needed something to kind of motivate me, a goal. And so I picked this 5K. It was a fundraiser for multiple myeloma research, and that's where it began about 3 years ago. And since then, this will be my third Lava Man, which is an Olympic distance try, through Team in Training, which has been a fabulous experience, both getting to know, just from a social aspect, the team aspect, getting to know people who are invested in it like myself. And
right.
I've done New York City Marathon for another organization called the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, and various, half marathons. And I ran across the Grand Canyon in the fall. That was just for the heck of it. So it's sort of taken on a life of its own. And when I look back at some of the things I've done in the last 3 years, it's sort of like, is that me? Did I actually do that? So it's been a little bit surreal, and it's been great, and I can't believe some of the things I've done, frankly.
So tell us, multiple myeloma, what is it? People might not be familiar with that.
So multiple myeloma is one of the 3 main blood cancers. So you've probably heard of leukemia and lymphoma.
Right.
And so multiple myeloma is sort of the third leg of that, a common blood cancer. Every year about 25,000 people are diagnosed, and about 10,000 people pass away from it. So the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which commercials you've been airing and who we're raising money for by going to Hawaii next week for the Lava Man,
right.
They also support multiple myeloma, even though it's not in their title. So they support all blood cancers. It's incurable. And so whereas some forms of leukemia and lymphoma are treatable, so far there is not a cure for multiple myeloma. But in the past, when I was diagnosed 6.5 years ago, they told me I had, on average, 5 years to live. So I was 46 years old.
Wow.
And your kids were how old?
My kids were 6 and 8. That was a tough day.
Yeah.
That was a gut punch. And since then, there's been so many new therapies developed that if you were diagnosed with multiple myeloma today, the average lifespan is up at about 10 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
So there's been a lot of new drugs that have come into the pipeline. There's a lot of hope with the promise of immunotherapy, the possibility of a cure. We're not there yet, but we're moving closer. but it's still incurable. And so for me, as long as I'm healthy and able, I'm going to keep raising money until I, as long as I can.
Well, $100,000 is substantial. How did you raise that much money? What did you do to, get that much support?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's taken on a life of its own in a very organic way. I think the goal for my very first 5K fundraiser, I think I put down like $3,000 or $5,000 as my goal. I wound up raising like $15,000.
Wow!
And I was a top fundraiser, and I was like, "Holy cow!" I mean, it blew me away, just the response. And what I realized is, I had this network of friends and family that wanted to help, but they didn't know how, and they were just sort of waiting for me to ask. And as soon as I asked, they just, the response was overwhelming, and that has just kept going. And so I've kept going back to the well, and I'm sure my, at the risk of burning out my friends and family, and they just keep giving. God bless them. And so the last 2 years, for instance, with the Lava Man, I've been the top fundraiser in the country for them. And so it's been sort of this latent talent. I didn't know I was a good fundraiser, and all of a sudden it just sort of, like I said, took on a life of its own. It's been an overwhelmingly positive and incredible experience. All the sort of support I've received, and it's amazing.
So tell me, because I know that you were a really, really late sign up for Lava Man for various reasons, and you were doing the Kilimanjaro Climb, right? So tell us what happened there.
So the nature of multiple myeloma is that you'll be on a chemo drug for a while, but the disease is so clever that it will eventually adapt to whatever you throw at it, and it will actually change it will evolve in terms of composition.
Wow. So
it will render whatever you're on eventually obsolete. If you've ever seen, what was that movie with the spaceships, the exploding spaceships, the woman, Sarah, what's her name? And she's sort of like going from spaceship to spaceship as it's sort of disintegrating and looking for a new home. That's the way it feels like sometimes for multiple myeloma. Whatever you're on in terms of treatment is temporary. And you're grateful to have your disease arrested for a time period, but you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right. Because it's just a matter of time. So what happened this fall after I was signed up to climb Mount Kilimanjaro through another fundraiser with a team of 16 of us, including 5 other survivors besides myself, is that the drug I was on for 2.5 years stopped working.
Oh, no.
Again, it was unpredictable, and I saw my numbers going up. We knew we'd have to switch, and I got on another drug. That didn't work. I got on another drug. That didn't work. And so it was January when I got on this latest drug. It's actually an immunotherapy drug. And it was only, at that point, 6 weeks till we were going to leave for Africa. And I was keeping my fingers crossed. But while the drug was effective and has been great in terms of treating my multiple myeloma, the side effects were super hard. And I went through a really rough period where I stopped training because the fatigue was overwhelming, and I basically had the flu for like 6 weeks, and it was it took me out of my game. So I had to cancel the Kilimanjaro Climb, and at the same time I canceled Lava Man because I thought, there's no way, I'm just too far behind in terms of training. And then miraculously, the day I was supposed to leave for Kilimanjaro, the side effects just poof, gone. And
nice.
So I was I signed up for Lava Man, then I canceled, and then I signed up again, and I'm behind the ball.
How's your fundraising going for that one? Because you don't have much time.
Believe you me, I'm well aware of that. I've been sending out frantic emails. I've got commitments for about $5,000, so I'll raise what I need to raise.
Nice.
So it's come through, but part of the reason I was running late this morning is because I squeezed in an 11-mile run because I'm under the gun and I've got to get this training in. I feel like, I'm way behind. So, but I'm thrilled to death that I feel normal again, and will be joining the team in Hawaii this year, which for me is bonus. I didn't think I would be there. So
Yeah, we're
That's
really
great.
excited
pretty
you're there.
grateful. Pretty grateful for that.
So how did you get diagnosed with multiple myeloma?
So as Patricia alluded to, I have a tree care company, and I was a climbing arborist at the time. So every day my office was up in the trees, and like in your backyard, basically. And I started to experience some pretty intense bone pain, particularly with my spine. Now, I had been going to chiropractors for years just to stay limber and because of the physical nature of the job. But this was a different story. I mean, I was getting shooting pains up through my spine, just like I stuck my finger in the socket of a, electrical socket. It was intense. And one day, and I knew something was going on, but, I never thought it was cancer. I just thought, okay, I'm getting old, or my body doesn't like what I'm doing, or whatever. But cancer was never in the equation. And one day I was pruning this pine tree for a customer, and I got out of the tree, and I came down, and I literally collapsed on the ground in pain.
Wow.
And I crawled over to the truck, and I pulled myself up. I mean, I was in rough shape. And I called the folks at Outward Bound, because I was an Outward Bound instructor in the summer also for 10 years by that point. And I said, you know what? I don't know what's going on with my body, but I can't come and work a course this year. I'm really sorry. And about half an hour later, I got a call from a kidney doc who was trying to figure out what was going on with me. That was sort of the entry point. My kidney numbers were not where they should have been. And he said, I think you have cancer.
Wow.
And
So
over the phone? He told you that over the phone?
Over the phone. And I remember sitting in that truck just crying like a baby and calling my dad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Breaking the news.
And so the journey begins, right?
And so the journey began. And that's not unusual. Most, I would say, multiple myeloma folks present with a lot of bone pain initially, because that's one of the hallmarks. There's so much excess calcium in your system, it actually eats away at your bones. So by the time you're diagnosed, you typically have the bone structure of someone who's 20 or 30 years older with lots of little lesions. Like when they put me through a PET scan, I lit up like a Christmas tree, and where the radioactive material went to show that I just had many, many sort of perforations in my bone structure. Since then, I take a biphosphonate, which is basically what they give for old people to maintain bone strength, and that's helped me sort of recover my bone strength, and I no longer have those pains, which brought me in the door, helped with the initial diagnosis.
And you're still able to work, and
you
still climb trees and everything?
Yeah, no, I'm sort of backed off. I have a crew that does a lot of stuff.
Good.
Partially because I'm so busy training for all these events, I don't have time to work.
I know how that goes.
That's the irony, right?
Yeah, it can get
No, it's amazing. The irony is I'm in the best shape of my life right now. 6.5 years after being diagnosed, which is just crazy. It's counterintuitive. And so I'm super fortunate in that regard, because some of the things I experienced were not irreversible. I see people come in, that need that their spine is disintegrating, and they need operations where they inject cement into their their spinal column, because that's sort of the shape of their vertebrae. And so I'm quite fortunate. The only thing I have is neuropathy, which is a common side effect of a lot of chemo drugs. I have neuropathy in my feet, but that has not prevented me from rock climbing or any of these events, or biking or swimming or running or anything. It's just sort of a nuisance. So in terms of the big picture, I'm way ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
that's so good to
I have
hear.
a lot to be grateful for.
Wow.
So we just have a couple minutes left, but I really want you to tell us a little bit about MORE, because I know you're involved in that as well.
So MORE actually is no more.
Really?
It was an organization called Multiple Myeloma Opportunities for Research and Education, and I was on the race committee, and that was the 5K I alluded to. That happens at the end of June in Magnuson Park. We will have another race this year, but for various reasons, MORE decided to close up shop. And And now another nonprofit that benefits multiple myeloma research is sort of picking up the ball. And the race, which we will have the last, oh God, my committee members are going to kill me. I think it's the last Saturday of June at Magnuson, will still benefit Seattle Cancer Care Alliance and go directly to multiple myeloma research. And what is really exciting is my oncologist, who's a researcher there, was just awarded a multi-million-dollar NIH grant. NIH has been in the news, as I'm sure you're aware, with some of the budget cuts. This is an amazing organization that is pushing the needle forward in terms of cancer research, critical to those of us who are affected by cancer, any type of cancer, by the way. And the seed money that my oncologist, Damian Green at Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, received came from these events. We raised $80,000 last year that we donated, and he was a recipient of the grant, and that gave him proof of, the money to show proof of concept, and then he could present that grant to the NIH, and based upon those results, he was awarded $3.2 million the other day to do some really cutting-edge research for multiple myeloma. So folks here on the local scene, you can absolutely make a difference by being part of the solution and participating in events like this, 100%.
Yeah, that's a great message. I mean, people don't really realize every penny counts, and it all makes a difference.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mark. I loved hearing all your story, and you're quite an inspiration.
Yeah,
I'm so happy you asked me, and this was a great experience. Thank you, Patricia. And
you are welcome.
Let's go next week and crush it in Hawaii.
Let's crush it in Hawaii. Yeah, we will. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest. When we come back from our break, we will have the Riley Johnson Team Market Update. Today we're going to talk about, it's going to be a surprise. We'll tell you when we get back. To find out about any topics discussed on today's show, you can go to www.financialfitnessnorthwest.com.